Mohari village is rich in natural resources like land, forests, and water. In spite of these precious natural resources, Mohari village people are compelled to live in darkness. The water of the Dakari River flows nearby the village. The time has come to utilize this water resource to generate electricity, bringing light and development opportunities to the village. For that, RIDS-Nepal developed a new Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant technology concept, and in close partnership with the Mohari village families, worked together to generate electricity from their Dakari River. As the saying goes, the end of any work should be more beautiful than the beginning. This has become a reality for the Mohari village through the Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant project. The following video tries to show and highlight where the journey together has come so far. We have built galvanized wire mesh cages and filled them with stones to protect our sedimentation pond and sedimentation tank from high river waters and to control the flow of water we need for the PICO-HYDRO power turbine plant. They lead debris, wood branches, and stones to one side and just let the required amount of clean river water through to the sedimentation pond. We built 5 galvanized wire mesh cage walls to divert the water this way. Only the needed quantity of water flows through this gap. All excess water flows to this side. From here, the sedimentation pond starts, with the water flowing slower, separating the water and the sand, so that only clean water flows towards the sedimentation tank. In this way, we don't have to worry that any floating obstacles enter the sedimentation tank. All excess water flows over the wire mesh cages back into the river, with only the quantity of water needed for the turbines entering the sedimentation tank. This is the sedimentation pond we built. In this sedimentation pond, water from the river is slowed down on purpose so that the sand can fall out and settle on the ground, and the water entering the sedimentation tank is as clean as it can get. If wood pieces or branches flow on the water surface, they are carried over the galvanized wire mesh cage wall we built back to the river. Next is the sluice gate through which water, free of any sedimentation, flows. We open it so much that enough water flows through to run the 6 turbines at the defined power output. Any excess water flows back to the river. Any wood pieces, leaves, or floating debris from upstream will drift away with the water overflow. We clean the sedimentation tank every day from small debris such as leaves. We built this net strainer to clean the water surface easily. See how easy and quick we can clean the water surface from any small debris like leaves and floating dirt in the sedimentation tank. In this way, we clean the sedimentation tank every day to protect the turbines from any small unwanted obstacles. This high-density polyethylene, or HDPE pipe, is 2 meters long, with a diameter of 200 millimeters, and it acts like a filter. We drilled 1,610 holes each one 8 mm in diameter, into it. The reason for these holes is to prevent dirt or obstacles from entering the penstock pipe in which the water flows down to the nozzles and turbines. In this way, only clean water powers the turbines, with no danger of blocking the nozzles or hampering the Pelton turbines. Here, you can see small pieces of leaves and wood particles being kept away from entering the HDPE filter by some of the 8 mm holes. There are enough holes in the HDPE filter that even if 60% of all the holes are blocked by debris, the filter still lets enough water into the penstock to power all the turbines. It is part of the operator's daily task to come to the sedimentation tank to check and clean the HDPE filter holes. In this way, only clean water will enter the penstock and power the turbines, keeping them safe from damage. The more we open the sluice gate, the more water flows into the sedimentation tank. Water flows through the 200 mm filter HDPE pipe down to the turbines. Any excess water will flow through the two 180 mm diameter HDPE overflow pipes. Furthermore, any small floating debris on the surface, such as wood particles or leaves, are sucked through the overflow pipes, keeping the water in the sedimentation tank clean and safe for the turbines. So, all excess water and small debris leaves the sedimentation tank, flowing back to the river through the two overflow HDPE pipes. From this 2 meter long, 200 mm diameter HDPE filter intake pipe in the sedimentation tank, the water flows inside the 490 meter long, 200 mm diameter wide, high-density polyethylene penstock down to the turbine house. Along the 490 meter long penstock, we create a total height difference, the so-called gross head, of 50 meters in height. That demands that we have along the penstock different thicknesses of HDPE pipes to make sure they withstand the increasing pressure. So, we start with HDPE pipes with holding 2.5 kilograms per square centimeter, then the middle part has 4 kilograms per square centimeter pressure-resistant HDPE pipes, and the last one-third of the penstock before the turbine house, we installed HDPE pipes withstanding 6 kilograms per square centimeter pressure. The land ground level is hardly ever straight. It goes up and down. So, when needed, we either dig into the ground or build up a stone wall to position the 490 meter long HDPE penstock pipe, making sure the pipes are safe and the water inside the penstock flows at a steady slope down to the turbine house. The land the penstock HDPE pipe is going through is never level or evenly sloped. Rather, the land goes up and down from the sedimentation tank down to the turbine house. So, at times, we have to dig into the ground to bury the HDPE penstock pipe around 500 millimeters deep, and at times we have to build a stone wall to keep the even slope of the HDPE penstock pipe. From here on, due to the increased pressure inside the penstock pipe, we used 4 kilograms per square centimeter HDPE pipes. With the penstock buried safely underground, the farmers can plant their crops such as lentils, wheat, or barley as before. So, the 490 meter long penstock pipe is buried below the ground, while above the ground, the crops grow without any problems. The total length of the penstock pipe from the sedimentation tank to the turbine house is 490 meters, with a total height difference of 50 meters. According to the water pressure, the pressure in the upper one-third of the total penstock length is low, so we use a 200 mm diameter, 2.5 kg per square centimeter HDPE pipe. The middle third of the penstock pipe has to withstand higher water pressures, so we use 4 kg per square centimeter pipes. The last third of the penstock, leading down to the turbine house, has to withstand the highest water pressure, up to 5 bar. Therefore, we use 200 mm diameter HDPE pipes with a pressure rating of 6 kg per square centimeters. The water flows from the sedimentation tank down to the turbine house through 98 HDPE pipes, each 5 meters in length. The welded joints create a small pressure drop. Therefore, the actual pressure at the 6 Pelton turbines, despite the 50-meter geographical height difference between the sedimentation tank and the turbine house, is 4.7 bar, which is equivalent to a 47-meter height difference for the electricity power generation. We have installed a 200 mm diameter gate valve in the turbine house to control the pressure and water flow rate for the turbines to generate the demanded power output. For example, if we need a total of 2 kilowatt power for all energy services in the village, we can adjust the pressure to 23 meter or 2.3 bar at the analog pressure gauge according to the head power generation curve. If the village power demand increases over the years, we can increase the head to 40 meters, for example, generating 5.2 kilowatts with all 6 turbines. In the same way, if power demand decreases, the pressure and thus water flow to the turbines can be dropped. In that way, any required power output can be easily adjusted based on the village's power demand. Right now, the HDPE penstock pipe has a water pressure of 32 meter head, or 3.2 bar, including the induced water flow losses at the turbines. At this pressure and water flow, the 6 Pelton turbines generate 3.7 kilowatts electricity, which is transferred as high voltage direct current to the powerhouse in the village, where it is converted into alternating current electricity at 230 volts for each user in the village. The Mohari Village Hydro Power Plant is a modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant with 6 Pelton turbines, the first of its kind in Nepal. The efficient, lightweight, and easily maintainable Pelton turbines use runners with multiple permanent magnet poles housed in recycled plastic housing bodies. Though only one turbine would meet the village's power demand today, for all basic indoor lighting and phone charging, we installed 6 turbines to prove the concept of modularity, which means the hydropower plant can grow along with the village's power demand increases and ability to pay for the electricity generated over the years to come, from 1 turbine initially up to 10 turbines with the same infrastructure already in place today. Furthermore, this first of its kind modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant is also a research project for RIDS for years to come, to monitor and evaluate how multiple turbines and system parameters work together and how we can propagate this modular concept in the future more widely in Nepal and worldwide. For the 300-meter-long transmission line from the turbine house to the powerhouse in the village, we have used strongly insulated, armored copper cables, which we buried about 500 millimeters underground. There are multiple benefits of burying the transmission cables underground. Firstly, we do not need to cut any valuable Himalayan pine trees in order to have transmission poles, saving the forests and loss of precious soil due to widespread deforestation. Additionally, the Himalayan pine tree is a soft tree, which needs to be replaced about every 3 years if used as a transmission pole due to rotting in the ground. Furthermore, in this high-altitude Himalayan climate, we have heavy snowfalls, strong monsoon rains, and heavy storms at times, which would damage any transmission poles. In contrast, the underground buried armored transmission cables last for decades and cannot be easily harmed by the elements. Once a month, we grease each turbine's bearing rolls. This is important as this makes sure that the turbines run smooth and safe over their expected lifetime. This is how we grease each turbine once a month. Once a month, we stop each turbine, one at a time, to check the Pelton turbine, the nozzle and bearing, and clean them if needed. While the stopped turbine is being checked, the other 5 turbines continue to run, generating electricity. In this way, we never have to stop the whole Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant, and electricity is always available for the users. Watch me checking and cleaning a turbine. As you can see, I stopped one turbine with the other 5 turbines continuing to run, not interfering with each other in any way. Now, I will open the plexiglass cover of the turbine and see if there is any debris inside the nozzles or the turbine, if the turbine runner is okay without unexpected abrasions, and if the turbine is running easy on the bearing without any increased clearance in the bearing. Here is one of the 2 nozzles each Pelton turbine has. I check now if anything is stuck in the nozzles or in the turbine runner. I spin the Pelton turbine runner to check if it runs free and smooth, or if there is increased friction or metallic noise due to increased bearing friction. Also, this allows me to easily check if the bearing is still okay and has not too large a clearance between the turbine and bearing rolls. Furthermore, I check each time if the nozzles are still strongly screwed on, as they can get loose over time if not strongly screwed on initially. I have checked and cleaned all the turbines and all are running well. Now I will walk through the whole PICO-HYDRO Power Plant as a final checkup to make sure all 6 turbines are adjusted and operating as intended. This ends the periodical monthly checkup and maintenance. From the sedimentation tank to the turbine house, a 490 meter long HDPE penstock pipe has been built and buried underground. We used 2.5 kg per square centimeter, 4 kg per square centimeter, and 6 kg per square centimeter HDPE pipes for the different water pressure along the penstock. The maximal water flow for all 6 turbines is approximately 20 liters per second with 47 meter head, generating 6.6 kilowatt electricity. The water flows after the turbines from the turbine house to the outflow back into the river through a 30 meter long, 225 millimeter diameter, 2.5 kilogram per square centimeter underground buried HDPE pipe. Except in the sedimentation tank and in the turbine house, the water used to generate electricity cannot be seen till it rejoins the river at its outlet here, as the penstock is buried about 500 millimeters underground for security and protection. Also, on the land above the penstock, the farmers can grow their crops as before, so no problem for the land or the farmers, which is very good. This is the cable from turbine 1 and 2, with 300 volt direct current or DC. This one is from turbine 3 and 4, again with 300 volt DC, and this from turbines 5 and 6, with 300 volt DC. Inside this box, all the power is joined and conditioned to be sent as 300 volt DC power from all 6 turbines to the powerhouse in the village. The 300 meter underground buried armored cable starts from here and goes directly to the powerhouse in the village. This is the turbine house. The high voltage DC power generated by all 6 turbines is sent through the 300 meter long, half meter underground buried armored power cable to the powerhouse in the village without any problem to anyone. No trees or expensive steel poles or exposed cables have to be used. All is safe, secure to use, and sustainable for many years to come. From the turbine house to the powerhouse, we have buried half a meter deep a 300 meter long armored copper power cable, so that the farmers can plow, plant, and grow their crops, be it wheat, barley, or potatoes, anytime without a problem. You can see here barley and wheat plants growing. The underground cable is ideal for such a situation, causing no problems at all. Underground, the generated electricity is transmitted to the village, and above the ground, the farmers' crops are growing. The half-meter deep buried armored cable is going through this field from the turbine house to the powerhouse. It does not disturb the farmer in any way. He can plow his field with the bulls, can plant potatoes, vegetables, or wheat, plant apple trees, and cultivate the land in any way he wants without any hindrance from the buried transmission cable. We can see a farmer working in the field right here. The power transmission cable comes from the turbine house through cultivated fields planted with wheat and barley, crossing the small river and through the field with the greenhouse up to the powerhouse here. From here, the cable continues underground along the toilet and hot water shower room into the power room. This is the powerhouse with all the power conditioning, management, and distribution equipment. This is the armored power cable which comes underground from the turbine house, transmitting the generated power as 300 volt direct current. All the power comes through a maximum current breaker fuse box into the power room. This is the power room of the Mohari village Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant, the center of all operational and power conditioning equipment and distribution. The electricity generated by the 6 Pelton turbines, transmitted through the 300 meter long armored underground buried copper cable, enters the power room here. The main reasons for using underground cabling are to avoid wooden or metal poles, thus saving precious forest resources and avoiding expensive metal poles, which often collapse under heavy snowstorm or wind gusts. Furthermore, underground buried transmission cables provide much greater safety for people and animals from electricity-related accidents. Through these two armored cables comes the electricity generated by the 6 Pelton turbine generators in the turbine house all the way to the powerhouse. The turbines generate 300 volt direct current. For power transmission safety and protection, we have installed a box with the needed maximum current breakers. We have also taken measures for lighting, earthing, and short-circuiting protection, which is installed inside this protection box. Next, we have the 300 volt direct current to 48 volt direct current maximum power point tracker called MPPT charge controller, charging the battery bank with any power generated but not immediately used by either the village or the various other loads and smart dump loads. Charge controller number 2 is connected to turbines 5 and 6. Charge controller number 3 is connected to turbines 3 and 4. And charge controller number 1 is connected to turbines 1 and 2. All 3 charge controllers have 300 volt direct current input and 48 volt direct current output to the direct current to alternating current or DC to AC inverters and to the 48 volt DC battery bank. We have installed 175 ampere maximum current breakers for security and protection of the power bank, the power lines to the DC to AC inverters of phase 1, 2, and 3. This is the phase 1 DC to AC inverter, which takes 48 volt DC and converts it to 230 volt AC electricity. Similarly, this DC to AC inverter is phase 2 with an input of 48 volt DC and converting it to 230 volt AC, and this inverter is phase 3, also with an input of 48 volt DC, converting it to 230 volt AC. So, we have 3 lines of electricity, L1, L2, and L3, which we call phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. For the 230 volt AC electricity distribution line, we consider the village has 2 parts, one in the east and the other in the west. Electricity transmitted to the western side of the village is controlled with this MCB, and the electricity transmitted to the eastern part of the village is controlled with this MCB. Furthermore, this MCB box protects and controls the 230 volt AC generated electricity phase 1, 2, and 3 for the power and community house ground floor, the rooms on the first floor, this room which is the power room, and the power needed for light and equipment in the turbine house. Furthermore, in this box is also an MCB that protects the power needed for the water heating system for the shower room, which is one of the various smart dump loads, heating water for personal hygiene for all people working and staying in the community house. This water is heated whenever there is more power available after the village's electricity demands have been met. In order to make sure the electronic equipment and computer here in the power room and in the turbine house have always power, even in the case of a major breakdown or failure of the DC to AC inverter system, we have built a separate small 48 volt DC to 230 volt AC conversion system with a 400 watt inverter, which takes its power from the battery bank. The computer system is connected to the internet and is operating and monitoring system for the whole Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant, sending the recorded data once a day to the server. Further, and even more importantly, this PC is in particular for the prepayment pay-as-you-go system. That means that each family has to come at the beginning of every new month and pay for the electricity in advance, so that they can have uninterrupted electricity throughout the coming month. They pay a monthly base fee, which includes the basic amount of energy to run several lights for a month. Further, each family can pay for additional energy units if they intend to consume more, or have more electrical appliances such as a TV. In that way, each user pays what they consume, based on their own demands and ability to pay for electricity. That is a new approach to rural village electrification, to make sure that for all generated and consumed electricity users pay. Good morning. What's the reason for coming today? I want to pay for next month's electricity. Okay, let's log into the prepayment pay-as-you-go system. Let's enter the pay-as-you-go system with the needed password. Now, I enter your smart meter's number to make sure we add the new electricity token to your house meter. For how much money do you want to purchase electricity for the coming month? I want to purchase for 330 rupees electricity. Okay, please give me the money. Yes, that is correct. This is 330 rupees. Is your name Jaya Buddha? Yes, that's right. My name is Jaya Buddha. Okay, that is correct. So let's now print your new token for the next month's electricity for 330 rupees. See, this is your printed slip with the token number for the paid electricity for the next month. This token number you have to enter in your house into your display pad, which looks like a calculator. Make sure you type in the correct and full number. Once you input the token number, it is visible in the display. Make sure it is the correct number. Then press the Enter button. If you entered the number correctly, your lights will be on for as many units you paid for in advance for the next month. Once the user has input the prepaid token number, the number of units in kilowatt hours he paid for is shown in the meter display. The user can now power all the electrical equipment such as the lights, radio, phone charger, and TV with up to a maximum wattage of about 450 watt, limited by each house's 2 amp MCB. The unit amount displayed in the meter is counting down dependent on the daily usage and power demand of the various electrical equipment till it ultimately comes down to zero. When no balance is left, the user has to purchase again a new token in order to have uninterrupted access to electricity. In this way, each family can decide for themselves how much electricity they need and can afford to pay for. The more electricity they use, the more units they have to purchase in advance. Further, the Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant can provide additional energy services such as room heating and water heating, as previously already mentioned. That is the case when, for example, the village does not need all the power generated, for example during the day when most people are working outdoors or are in their fields, and thus there is more instant power available. The computer system recognizes that immediately and diverts the leftover power to different smart dump loads such as the room heaters in the community house or the water heaters for the hot water shower rooms. With the room heaters, we can heat up the air in the rooms in the community house and thus increase the living and working comfort of the people working and living in the community house. Further, we built 2 hot water shower rooms, one in the community house and one in the village, which provide hot water heated up with the leftover power as additional smart dump loads. In this way, people can periodically take a hot shower for a small amount of payment, improving their personal hygiene and overall health. This is particularly useful in improving hygiene and the health of the people, as hardly anyone washes themselves during the very cold 4 to 5 winter months. With these additional facilities in place, no power generated is wasted, and new energy services are provided to the users at their own desire and discretion. If there is still more excess power available after all energy demands have been met, a high-altitude biogas digester plant is heated inside to improve the anaerobic digestion process to produce more biogas. Considering all this, we can make sure that all the power generated by the Modular PICO-HYDRO Power Plant is used for valuable, consumer-benefiting energy services in efficient and secure ways, with a long-term, sustainable view in mind, maximizing the utilization of all power generated. The powerhouse and community house constructed in Mohari village is for the local people to take part in and to conduct different creative learning activities. This includes activities such as non-formal education for people, often women and out-of-school girls who have never had the chance to go to school and learn the basics. Further, it includes awareness and teaching videos for all local people through different audio and visual tools, like the videos RIDS created over the years, as well as programs to learn new manual and practical skills useful to participate in the development of their own community. The Community Center is also RIDS-Nepal's Research and Community Development Center. Research projects and activities with students from Nepal and from around the world take place with a special focus to study and develop new concepts of long-term, holistic and sustainable community development projects and activities, as well as the use of and application of renewable energy resources through contextualized renewable energy technologies for improved access to energy services in development projects. These are some of the major issues in the fields of community development research which need to be undertaken to find more efficient and more sustainable approaches to address the sustainable development goals in the years to come, addressing such issues as the eradication of poverty and improved access to energy services in more practical, dignified and realistic ways. This also leads to new opportunities and chances for local communities to get engaged in new income-generating activities, enabling them more and more to stand on their own feet and taking the task of development more and more in their own hands. The Community Center serves as well for visitors and tourists interested in coming to Nepal to experience firsthand in a new way the differences and values of an intercultural way of life in the midst of the unique ecosystem of the high-altitude Himalayan mountains. By learning more about the local culture, the indigenous way of life, and by sharing one's own way of life and background, valuable life lessons can be learned from each other, establishing new friendships based on a better mutual understanding and respect, an important lesson the world needs urgently for its future. To be a bridge between cultures and people groups for the common good of all is the main reason why this community center in Mohari village has been built.